It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. I dedicated so much time to working hard. I triple that to submit the fact I don't work a job. My God, I was undervalued, underestimated, misunderstood. Had to sacrifice myself for them frankers like making good. Fuck it. Gave myself a budget, balancing funds and some crutches. Sit back and watch the industry when they smile, I can't trust it. Hit a 180, these artists in a 360. I plotted from watching Emcee, I'm swinging like Jack Dipsy. Who these niggas playing? I got my fam in the shit like the Wands. It's like a wedding, how I vow to exchange with these bands. If I needed your help and I never got it, why you hitting up my line? The result could be catastrophic, yeah. I'm philanthropic, I figure fraudulent seeping through. Niggas can't read, so I can't expect them to read the room. Hard to smoke, it's really just feeding fuel. Fishing, I could feed a fool. Try me, you gon' eat from out a feeding tube. I played humble and never got what I wanted. When I start talking cash, the money just start coming. The laws of attraction ain't even outside, but I've been active. Not to mention the rapping, my pen game's scholastic. Southern underground, wavy is an ultrasound. Disrespect us, you get crescent kicked up in your mouth. Bow to my presence, my presidents take precedence. Nas told me hip-hop died, I gave him the EpiPen. I control all of this shit autonomous. Hacking niggas like Shaq or Anonymous. Y'all been sleeping on me. I'm on the island by myself like an ottoman, y'all. Don't make me fuck up your perception like Oculus, y'all. Freak styles like Akinelli. Nothing y'all can tell me. Thumbs up to murder Fonzarelli. Buzzing hot as Nelly. Y'all can't compare me to these 2K niggas. I be drilling in your queen like them UK niggas. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. It has been a little minute since we've talked about this whole Jay-Z SA case, Tony Buzbee, the unnamed Jane Doe, and all of that stuff. We now have a new update. It seems that Tony Buzbee has reached out, called in for reinforcement. He needs a little bit of help. Help. So let's go into it, man. I'm not going to waste too much time because I got to get back to the famo. But I did want to come talk to y'all about this because this is breaking news. All right. So first, Tony Buzbee has added 2 new attorneys to his legal team in New York. Some people are speculating that this might be because he still has not filed for pro hoc vice, which would allow him to practice law in the Southern District of New York. He said that he was registered in the Eastern District of New York. However, the jurisdiction does not apply, right? So now he has somebody by the name of Mark P. Wrestler that's coming in from Kasowitz Benson Torres LLP, coming in to work on his behalf. This is interesting. It says, please take note that Mark P. Wrestler of Kasowitz Benson Torres LLP, an attorney admitted to practice in this court, hereby enters an appearance as counsel for plaintiff Jane Doe and for plaintiff attorney Anthony G. Buzbee in the above captioned action, and respectfully request that all further papers and correspondence be served upon him. Okay, so he's basically taken over the case to represent not only the Jane Doe, but he's also going to be representing Tony Buzbee moving forward as well. Okay. And then we've got somebody by the name of Veronica Alayer. Excuse me, not Alayer. Let me say that again. Miss Veronica Alayeva. She's also from the same law firm, and she will also be representing the Jane Doe and Tony Buzbee, right? Now, when I saw this, I saw some people that were saying that Tony Buzbee may end up having to come through and give testimony of his own, I guess, to the credibility of his claims and the things that he's been doing. And of course, Jay-Z has been implicating him personally as an extortionist and among other things. So they're saying that he may have to actually talk about his credibility, his integrity, and where some of these allegations are coming from, etc. I can't state exactly what that would be for. Some of y'all are actually law students and acting professionals in that, in legal. So feel free to let me know either in the chat or in the comments below what Tony Buzbee would be bringing in additional counsel, not only for himself, not only for his client, but also himself, right? I'm all ears. Additionally, with the entry of his new counsel on the case. He's also filed a memorandum of law in opposition to defendant Sean Carter's motion for sanctions, right? Remember, Jay-Z recently came out and said that Buzbee should be fined for all of his reckless activity and coming with these unfounded facts and just crazy allegations, wasting the court's time and resources, wasting his time and resources, and he felt like they should be fined for bringing these bogus claims to the people. Of course, we now have Tony Buzbee and team coming to the table. They say that we should not have to be fined any sanctions. Let's just move forward. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. We're going to read through it and see what they're saying to the judge. And I will say before I start reading, at this point, I'm doing this for the culture, baby. I'm doing this shit for the culture. A lot of people that were attaching themselves to this case when it was looking like Jay-Z was going to go down, when it was looking bad for him, when it looked like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? People were putting out all this bullshit. You know, people brought in hella views. People made hella fake videos, hella fake, assertions in his direction as to what was going to happen. Oh, Jay-Z's going to get locked up. Oh my God. Now we see that this shit is completely bogus. Anybody with two eyes can see it. A lot of folks have backed away from this story, but we're doing this shit for the culture. We're going to keep following this thing. Okay. So here it says plaintiff and her counsel, Anthony G. Buzbee and the Buzbee law firm, together Buzbee, respectfully submit this memorandum of law in opposition to the motion of defendant Sean Carter under Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure to dismiss plaintiff's amended complaint and to award him monetary sanctions against Buzbee. Here is their preliminary statement in her defense. Okay. So they say Carter, as in Jay-Z, his motion amounts to an outrageous and unprecedented attempt to silence a plaintiff who alleges that 24 years ago, when she was 13 years old, defendants Carter and Combs S.A.'d her. Carter's celebrity status does not entitle him to special treatment by the courts, and certainly not on the mere say-so of his lawyers, as this court has recognized. Kaslowitz, blah, blah, blah. Example B, at 4, the court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Relying solely on what his lawyers say are inaccurate details in plaintiff's account of this horrific assault, Carter asked this court to ignore the federal rules of civil procedure and, as a sanction for what his lawyers falsely say was Buzbee's failure to investigate, summarily dismiss plaintiff's well-pleaded FAC in its entirety, which would run roughshod over her right to take discovery and prove her claims before a jury. Even assuming arguendo that plaintiff misremembers details from 24 years ago, that is no basis for evading the requirements of Rule 12 by dismissing her FAC under Rule 11 based solely on purported factual disputes concerning those details. This is especially true whereas here, the purported factual disputes concern details arising solely from the memory of a victim, here a child victim of SA, which it is well established typically causes memory lapses, okay? In fact, Carter's lawyers themselves got flatly wrong one of the details they falsely claim undercut plaintiff's claim, asserting that at the time of the blank, Carter's co-defendant Combs did not own the house where the SA may have taken place. In fact, Combs did own the house. I would love to know what house y'all are talking about. They say see info at pages 17, 18. There's 29 pages. So perhaps we will see what their evidence of this house is, because the only house that I believe he owned at the time was the brownstone, which was nowhere near where they were at. Carter's lawyers' purported certainty about what happened to plaintiff is thus utterly unjustified. The NBC report, on which they principally rely, itself acknowledged that its purported findings do not necessarily mean the allegations are false. That acknowledgement alone, under applicable law, removes any possible justification for Rule 11 sanctions here. However, we do know that we saw the people that, again, have two eyes to see. We saw that when they asked very simple questions, she folded and said, in so many words, I lied. I got some things wrong. I fucked up, right? People that she claims she talked to literally in depth about people's tattoos it has been revealed those people were not even in attendance. So how could that be a thing? Right? Not to mention her own father says, I don't remember no shit like that happening. I think I would. But unfortunately, the fact that he says he does not recall, under legal jurisdiction, they're going to use that as, hey, he didn't say it didn't happen. He said he just doesn't remember. Right? As if a father wouldn't remember some shit like that. We'll keep going. That acknowledgement alone, under applicable law, removes any possible justification for Rule 11 sanctions here. In any event, when stripped of their salacious rhetoric, you want to talk about salacious rhetoric when y'all the ones that brought this to the table. Carter's lawyers challenged plaintiff's allegations and recollection regarding watching the MTV VMA Awards show on a Jumbotron, which the Jumbotron wasn't there. She said that she was clearly watching it on that Jumbotron. If it wasn't there, then yes, that should bring in a question of credibility. Speaking to limousine drivers during the show. Yeah, the limousine drivers were isolated from y'all. And we had Gene Deal, who I don't fuck with. He says Diddy and Co. were not even in tow utilizing limousines. So that should also let you know what's going on here. Now, a limousine driver may have picked her up somewhere, took her somewhere, but that doesn't mean that Diddy and or Jay-Z were behind it. And it definitely doesn't mean that this so-called limousine driver took her to meet them. But that's what she is alleging. The location of the after party at which she was SA'd, speaking to a celebrity at the party, and plaintiff's father picking her up after she was SA'd. As shown further below, none of these purported challenges are meritorious. How are they without merit? And none come close to proving, as they must justify any Rule 11 sanction, let alone the most drastic sanction of all, dismissal, that Carter did not do what plaintiff says. And of course, I'm changing some of what is being said here for suitability purposes on YouTube. Carter's lawyers also falsely say Buzbee did not sufficiently investigate and was not permitted to rely on plaintiff's unequivocal recollection that Carter has aided her. How are you going to say that when Buzbee came out his own face and said that his firm did not properly vet and investigate the client? He put the burden of issue on a whole nother firm which has not been named. That's what he said. That ain't something they made up. When the going got tough, he tried to blame somebody else. Is he related to Drake? Let me simmer down. As the courts have made clear, Rule 11 sanctions will be imposed only in extraordinary circumstances. Now remember, this is all in response to the sanctions, right? The fines. So of course, Buzbee's counsel is going to try to make sure that these sanctions are not imposed so that they don't have to pay anything. But as this thing moves forward, the lack of credibility that Jay-Z and Alex Spiro and them are talking about will have to be brought and addressed. Anyway, they say, as the courts have made clear, Rule 11 sanctions will be imposed only in extraordinary circumstances, of which celebrity status is not one. Here, there are no circumstances at all, let alone extraordinary circumstances, justifying sanctions against Buzbee. In fact, it is out of judicial concern for encouraging zealous advocacy that the courts maintain a high bar for establishing a Rule 11 violation. Okay? So they saying this is just a run-of-the-mill situation. This is not outstanding. They're basically saying that they don't know what they're talking about. Contrary to Carter's lawyers' baseless assertions, Buzbee included the allegations against Carter in the FAC only after an investigation, including numerous interviews of plaintiff and vetting of the information plaintiff provided that more than satisfied Rule 11's requirements. So why did Buzbee come out and admit that he didn't do the job to the best of his ability? He shouldn't have said that. On the other hand, Carter's lawyers' motion, which they filed even in the face of this court's discouraging them from doing so, is nothing more than an improper attempt to intimidate plaintiff and her counsel, and is factually and legally meritless. If anyone has violated Rule 11, it is Carter and his lawyers. Wow, trying to flip the script. Who under Rule 11C2 should be sanctioned by awarding plaintiff and her counsel the attorney's fees and costs incurred in having to respond to their motion. What? I need my legal professionals to step in. Okay? He says that they need to be sanctioned for wasting their time. But I thought that this thing was going to be a bunch of different motions being filed, everybody pleading their case, you know, Buzbee and co pleading as to why these proceedings should continue. Jay-Z and his team filing to say that this thing needs to be thrown out, etc., before they get into discovery. I thought that was how this goes. As a matter of fact, that's how the judge said it goes, is that everybody has to bring their replies to the table. So I find that to be interesting that they say, nah, they need to pay up for wasting our time to respond. Thought that's how the process goes. But again, I'm not an attorney. So they come here and say the facts. As set forth herein and in the accompanying Buzbee declaration, plaintiff's counsel's pre-filing investigation was thorough and satisfied. Rule 11. In early October 2024, Jane Doe was referred to Buzbee and the Buzbee firm by AVA Law Group. Okay, so that's the original law group that sent her to Buzbee, right? We're finally getting some clarity on where she came from. Plaintiff's co-counsel in this action. Before that referral, attorneys at Ava Law investigated the veracity of plaintiff's allegations. Plaintiff went through Ava Law's intake process, which the Buzbee firm understood to include numerous interviews, including an interview by at least one and possibly more attorneys. Only when the attorneys at Ava Law were convinced that plaintiff's allegations were true did they refer plaintiff to Buzbee. In addition, the attorneys at Ava Law prepared an initial version of the original complaint. Two attorneys at the Buzbee firm interviewed the plaintiff, fact-checked various aspects of plaintiff's complaint, and revised the complaint prior to its filing. But your seminal witness is the dad. Why didn't y'all vet him? Because he said, man, I don't know about that shit she talking. Prior to the FAC and naming Carter as a defendant, Mr. Buzbee and other firm attorneys engaged in further rigorous due diligence to investigate the veracity and legal viability of plaintiff's claim. The Buzbee firm's efforts included, among other things, intensive interviews amounting to cross-examinations of plaintiff by 3 to 5 attorneys, both alone and in teams, and research and verification of numerous details in plaintiff's account. The Buzbee firm ran a background check on plaintiff and retained a retired police detective to research and confirm other aspects of plaintiff's account. We would definitely need that retired police detective to come to the front. The Buzbee firm also conducted research to confirm the close connection between Carter and Combs, which further bolstered the conclusion that plaintiff's allegations were plausible, credible, and warranted legal recourse. I mean, anybody with two eyes, again, we keep saying this, would know over the years that they've done business together. They've done music together, but what does that have to do with anything? So now, if you do music, do business, and happen to show up in a couple videos or photos together with somebody, now they can say, hey, based on the connection of you guys, we can at least believe that y'all would perform sexual crimes against somebody because we see y'all together. Come on. Plaintiff alleges that on September 7, 2000, she, then 13 years old, went to Radio City Music Hall in New York City to try to attend the VMAs. This story we already know. As plaintiff did not have a ticket to the show, she watched the VMAs on a Jumbotron outside. Y'all don't want to amend that part because there was no Jumbotron. It's already been verified. In hopes of talking her way into either the VMAs or the after party, plaintiff also approached and spoke to several limousine drivers packed nearby the VMAs, one of whom claimed to work for Combs and told her that plaintiff fit what Diddy was looking for, and he invited her to an after party. Again, Diddy at the time was not even communicating with limos or limo drivers. Later that evening, the driver brought plaintiff to an after party at what plaintiff believed to be a large white residence with gated U-shaped driveway. And we still understand that these two I ain't gonna say Diddy a gentleman, fuck that nigga. But these two guys were not partying at a white house with a U-shaped driveway. It's already been shown. I'm gonna skip the rest of this. We already know this shit. You're ready to party. All that bullshit. Excuse my language. Carter's efforts to intimidate the Buzbee firm. Let's get to some more other stuff, more relevance. Since the initiation of this lawsuit, more than 24 past and current employees and clients of the Buzbee firm have reported being approached and harassed by individuals claiming to be investigating Buzbee, going so far as to urge the clients to bring meritless lawsuits against Buzbee, including regarding his attempts to get justice for Carter and Combs victims and offering money to do so. We still have not seen actual proof of any money being offered. We have seen some fake videos of people allegedly approaching people on behalf of Diddy, but that even looked like it was a skit. This has resulted in several frivolous lawsuits against Buzbee. In filings in this action, Carter's lawyers have repeatedly referred to these lawsuits to discredit Buzbee. Based on the investigative efforts made by the Buzbee firm and others, the Buzbee firm has filed several cases for barratry on behalf of its clients who were offered money to file a claim against the Buzbee firm. These cases detail the illegal activities of the investigators and those behind them, who are believed to be Carter through his entertainment company, Roc Nation, and Carter's lawyers. Here they address the NBC interview. On December 13, 2024, 5 days after naming Carter's defendant, plaintiff sat for an interview with NBC to recount what she called the catastrophic event that would ruin her life. When questioned by NBC about what it claimed were some potential inconsistencies in her allegations, plaintiff told NBC that she stands by her allegations overall. NBC itself acknowledged that the inconsistencies in her account of the incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago do not necessarily mean the allegations are false, but there are some key inconsistencies in there. These are not just inconsistencies that can be overlooked. NBC noted that the plaintiff's father purportedly did not recall picking her up from the gas station the next morning, as plaintiff alleges, despite it being approximately a 5-hour drive. Who forgets that? Plaintiff told NBC that she stood by her claim and that her father may have misremembered. Her daddy said, "I picked her up from somewhere one time, but that was a local drive. I ain't never drove 5 hours to pick her up from no damn New York City. And y'all want to say he misremember. Come on, dog." During the interview, plaintiff told NBC that musician Benji Madden was one of the celebrities she spoke to at the party in question, but NBC determined that Madden was on tour in the Midwest at the time. In response, plaintiff explained, "Honestly, what is clearest is what happened to me and the route that I took to what happened to me. Not all of the faces there are as clear. I may have made a mistake in identifying, but you was talking about his tattoos and all this type of shit. Who would mess that up? You said he had some religious text on his arm and you was, oh my God, I love your tattoo because I'm a Christian too. Now tell me what righteous Christian goes through that type of lie for this type of case." Let me continue. Finally, NBC also reported that Carter and Combs had been photographed at VMA after parties in Manhattan that night, and neither of those venues of the parties matched plaintiff's description of the house she was SA'd in. However, NBC also noted that Combs and Carter's whereabouts for the entire evening are unclear, and it is not clear what time those images were taken or if Combs and Carter attended any other after parties. So they're trying to say, hey, just because they were at one of these locations or another one of these locations, it does not mean that the entirety of their night has been accounted for. We need to see what else took place. Plaintiff also explained that she didn't know exactly where we were going or how long it even took. So now we get to them trying to defend the fact that she didn't really know what was going on, although it definitively states in her filing what was allegedly going on. But we'll continue. Mr. Buzbee told NBC, "We have attempted to confirm the correct location." Attempted to confirm. Plaintiff has been very specific and detailed about the description of the venue she says she was taken to. We won't speculate on whether there was an after party because, again, she doesn't know that. So that's an implication. You're implying that there could have been, but we can't say that just yet. As Buzbee also noted to NBC, plaintiff remains fiercely adamant that what she has stated is true to the best of her memory. Buzbee further explained, "We always do our best to vet each claim made, just as we did in this case." Plaintiff also told NBC, "You should always fight for what happened to you. You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did run or ruin your life. I just hope I can give others the strength to come forward like I came forward." Okay, the original complaint in this matter was filed anonymously on October 20th, 2024 against Combs and other corporate defendants. Plaintiff filed a motion to proceed in the litigation anonymously on October 24th, 2024, which the case provisionally granted on November 6th. The complaint was amended on December 8th to add Carter to the allegations of SA and abuse. Again, plaintiff sought to proceed anonymously. On December 9th, Carter, through his counsel, filed a motion to deny plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously. December 13th, Carter's lawyers filed a pre-motion letter informing the court of their intent to immediately file for sanctions and requested a shortening of the 21-day safe harbor provision in Rule 11, which that was a pretty heavy-handed request. I will say, I've been saying it for a minute. Then on December 18, 2024, Carter's lawyers filed an emergency motion to strike the FAC and dismiss Carter from the action. December 26th, the court issued an order admonishing Carter's lawyers for repeatedly attacking Mr. Buzbee's ethics and motives, denying Carter's emergency motion to strike, and denying Carter's attempt to shorten the safe harbor period to 1 day. The judge did not say anything about attacking his ethics and motives. The judge just said, "Hey, dog, y'all doing too much. Y'all overloading me. And we not shortening nothing," right? Despite the court having admonished Carter's lawyers in its December 26th order that the court discourages the filing of their Rule 11 motion without first seeking leave of court, they nonetheless did so. In the December 13th pre-motion letter, Carter's lawyers stated that they intended to immediately file this motion for sanctions and requested an expedited briefing scheduled from 21 days to 1 day. December 20th, Mr. Buzbee filed his opposition to Carter's lawyer's pre-motion letter, arguing that any Rule 11 motion on allegations concerning a child SA victim would be frivolous and would itself be subject to a Rule 11 motion in response. Buzbee pointed Carter's lawyers to authority, recognizing that a victim who was a minor at the time of an SA could not be expected to have exacting recall and command of all relevant facts. Furthermore, they say Carter's lawyers do not come close to establishing that sanctions are warranted here. Sanctions may not be imposed unless a particular allegation is utterly lacking in factual support. And it is also established that plaintiff's counsel is entitled to rely on the representation of their client without having to assess credibility. That's from their citation. Moreover, we're going to skip this. Furthermore, it is well settled that courts should not impose Rule 11 sanctions that may discourage counsel's obligation to advocate zealously on behalf of his client. Finally, courts must resolve all doubts in favor of the signer of the pleading. So here's an argument here. Under any standard, and certainly not under the high bar and very last resort of Rule 11, there is no basis here to impose any sanction, let alone dismissal, against plaintiff or her counsel. What Carter's motion amounts to is an outrageous and unprecedented attempt to silence a plaintiff who alleges that 24 years ago, when she was 13 years old, Carter and his co-defendant Combs SA'd her. Carter's celebrity status does not entitle him to special treatment by the courts, and certainly not on the mere say-so of his lawyer. We already read that shit. Okay? And of course, with these things, they're going to restate things multiple times. So I'm trying to get through this as best as I can without repeating too much and without omitting too much in the process. Indeed, for this reason, courts routinely permit expert testimony to explain various syndromes that impact a victim's memory and other behaviors. So, of course, they're going to try to go into her mental issues. They say that she is autistic and things of that nature. They also are going to go into the fact that she has allegedly been taken advantage of in other instances sexually, not just this one instance that she's alleging, but later in life. So they're definitely going to play her out to have been, traumatized into memory loss. As the courts have made clear, Rule 11 sanctions will be imposed only in extraordinary circumstances. All right, same stuff. Contrary to Carter's lawyers' inflammatory and ad hominem attacks, Buzbee included the allegations against Carter in the FAC only after an investigation, including numerous blah, blah, blah. We just talked about that. Carter's lawyers do not and cannot show that Buzbee's investigation was inadequate. Buzbee's investigation unquestionably passes muster under Rule 11, and his refusal to withdraw plaintiff's claim against Carter unquestionably is justified and indeed mandated by applicable professional ethics. Given that Carter's lawyers challenge that investigation based principally on NBC News report questioning certain details in plaintiff's allegations, but NBC acknowledged itself that its report did not establish that plaintiff's claim was false. Again, they keep saying this same stuff. As discussed above, both the Buzbee firm and co-counsel who referred plaintiff to Buzbee Ava Law Group performed extensive diligence on plaintiff and her claims. Okay. And we still have not found, they make reference here to say that she was also drugged, which we already knew was part of her story, but we still have to establish where those vials came from. Were those allegedly the vials used that night, or were those the vials, or are those just photos of random vials to show what the alleged liquid that she was allegedly given were held in? Okay. Just trying to see if there's anything here unique to what we've already seen or talked about, because all of this is restating things that we've already addressed. So here, all right, let me go up a little bit. So they say Carter's lawyers also argued that public property records confirm that Combs did not own a residence at that time that matches plaintiff's description, pointing to property records for 40 Hedges Bank Drive in East Hampton, New York, which purportedly reflect that Combs did not own this residence until 2001. However, this argument fails for at least two reasons. First, plaintiff does not allege that the home she was taken to was owned by Combs. Okay, so now they're going to say that this was a rental. But in any event, Carter's lawyers' representation to the court that Combs did not own 40 Hedges Bank Drive in 2000 is plainly false. They say property records reveal that Combs was first listed on a deed for 40 Hedges Bank Drive on March 13, 1998, and that he or a company owned by him owned the property until selling it on July 23, 2020. In fact, Combs' notorious white parties, which Carter often attended, were held at this residence beginning in 1998, including in July 2000, just 2 months before the SA, and in the following years. Okay. However, what's the distance between Manhattan to even this East Hampton home? So you're telling me, according to Google, that would be almost an additional 3-hour ride, which would also extend her father's ride from 5 hours to 8 hours or 7.5. And that's without traffic. So is that what y'all really trying to run with? Fourth, with respect to Carter's lawyer's argument that we know he wasn't there. They say Carter's argument stems not from what is alleged in the FAC, but from the post-filing interview from NBC. It is utterly irrelevant that plaintiff may have subsequently misremembered that Madden was one of the celebrities she interacted with. Well, no. No. Because you vividly said that you spoke to this man. He was probably going to have to come in for questioning if this thing were to proceed. But it's already been identified he wasn't there. But you spoke to him at length, allegedly. Fred Durst, where you at? She said she spoke to you too. Fifth, Carter's lawyers take issue with plaintiff's allegation that her father picked her up from a gas station shortly before dawn the morning after, on the grounds that NBC reported that her father does not recall doing so. Given that this occurred 24 years ago, it is not surprising that her father may not recall a specific drive to pick up his daughter. I think he would remember a 5-hour drive or perhaps a nearly 8-hour drive if y'all want to try to make this thing work at this house, this other property, East Hampton. If that's what y'all want to do, then that's damn near an 8-hour drive. Moreover, as plaintiff stated in her interview and reflecting a reticence not uncommon in as a victim, she never told her father or anyone else about what happened to her at the party. We rode home in silence. And a 5 to 8 hour drive in which your daddy don't ask you a motherfucking thing. He ain't ask you how you left, how you got there. You in a wheelchair. How did you make it all the way here? Who drove you? Who took you? Why was you out here? Who house was you at? Who was you visiting? And then the alleged person that supposedly drove her 5 hours to Manhattan is conveniently dead. Come on, man. It's bullshit. All right, here they say Jay-Z's motion should be denied because it seeks to evade Rule 12's requirements and impermissibly avoids discovery. Okay, this motion should be denied for the additional reason that Carter's lawyers filed it plainly in an effort to avoid discovery and evade the clearly satisfied requirement under Rule 12 that to survive a motion to dismiss a complaint must contain sufficient factual matter accepted as true to state a claim to relief that is plausible on its face. It is only where no reasonable evidentiary basis for a factual claim was disclosed in pretrial proceedings or at trial that the district court must then scrutinize the objective reasonableness of the attorney's pre-filing inquiry and the basis for the claim developed by that inquiry. I mean, to me, it seems like, yeah, I don't have any reasonable evidentiary basis, but, I'll leave that up to the judge. Accordingly, the issue of sanctions, including with respect to pleadings, normally will be determined at the end of the litigation. Here, Carter is seeking a Rule 11 determination before any discovery has been undertaken. At a minimum, until discovery has been completed, the court simply cannot find that no reasonable evidentiary basis for a factual claim was disclosed in pretrial proceedings or at trial, the prerequisite for any examination by this court of counsel's Rule 11 responsibilities. As the cases Carter's lawyers themselves cite make clear, there is no basis for dismissal. And here is where Buzbee's new counsel, who are now presiding over him, claim that Jay-Z and his lawyers should now be paying for their clients' attorney fees, aka pay them. Okay? For the reasons set forth above, the court should deny the motion in its entirety, and plaintiff and her counsel should be awarded fees and costs incurred in opposing it. So that's what they say. 23 pages of 29 really pages, but we went past. They had a whole index and like table of contents and outline of what was coming. 23 pages of absolute raw, warm horseshit. And the fact that Tony Buzbee is even connected enough to get some slouch motherfuckers to come in and advocate on behalf of this shit and actually put this in their resume is also pretty embarrassing. But hey, what we're seeing here is what I would like to identify as like a cheeky run. I forgot what fucking movie that shit was. Cheeky run. Ain't that the shit where them niggas got in that it's like two opposing cars. Y'all supposed to like go high speed at each other, and then the motherfucker who veers off the course, basically scared, is the loser. That's what it looked like to me. It's a motherfucking cheeky run. Like Jay-Z and Alex Spiro, they going full speed ahead. Fuck you niggas. And then you got Tony Buzbee and his folks like, shit, nigga, I ain't moving. And it's like whichever motherfucker is willing to stand on business the longest is aiming to be the victor. Because I don't think Tony Buzbee really has anything. I think he initially expected Jay-Z to just settle, and now that is out of the realm of possibility, it's like, you know what? I'm about to hit your ass with mob mentality, right? You say you didn't do it. Well, I say you did. Okay. And I don't care what you say to the judge, what you bring to the table. As long as I'm here, I say you did. Oh, you want to know what evidence I got? I got evidence. And I say you did. Jay-Z, I ain't do it. I say you did. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what we got here. And it's like, who is willing to continue to exhaust their resources to keep this thing, fluttering back and forth? Motherfuckers is playing tennis. I say you did. Yeah, I mean, at some point the judge is gonna, determine whether or not this thing should be thrown out or move forward. But this shit is a fucking mess, bro. And I think just given the information, the inconsistencies of the story, the inconsistency of the locations, the outrageousness of the locations, if we're going to be all the way honest, we know this is a load of horseshit. But unfortunately, It has to be determined by the judge. So, of course, with Tony Buzbee and his new counsel submitting this paperwork, we're going to probably be getting a response from Jay-Z and Alex Spiro, Quinn Emanuel, and all of them within the next, I would say, if not by tomorrow, then definitely next week. So we'll just keep volleying and keep covering it as these updates continue to come in. All right, let me know what y'all think about this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider, and I will catch y'all later. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rags. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some batteries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.